Hold up. Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bets. Cause we know who we at, we know we top tier. Cause all the hate that you bring, we know it stops here. I'm taking off like a rocket here, ain't stopping here. It's strange how they cannot see the future, but see profit here. Wait up, we gon' always win. I can't take no loss, my team hold no L's, no. Aiming for the top, can't make it by myself.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Thursday show. I mean, I'm already, just because I know what I'm about to get into, I'm already like, some days I'm more fired up than others. I come in, shot out of a cannon, 6th gear already, super excited to expose, do the things we said we would do. Fact check the lies, expose the injustices, what our mission statement was. And sometimes I'm so fired up to come in and do that. But the subject matter that we're at least going to start with, and we won't do it the whole show. But there was a number of times since I began this where an incident would happen, and I would say on air, we need to know about this, we need to highlight this, but I can't do the deep dive into the gun show today. Or I talk to Scotty about a story as we're going through, the show. And I'd say, maybe we discuss together, like, is this the day we get a little deeper? Maybe not. Today's the day. We're not going to go crazy. All right. We're not going to go crazy, but we do want to bring you the details of this shooting yesterday in Minnesota. And there's actually 2 of them. Not yesterday, but Tuesday, there was a shooting that completely got overshadowed, which is a sad statement on how desensitized we have become. But I'm not going to allow at least my audience to be desensitized to this one. Not that you were, but we're going to bring you some details. Because it's destined to be another piece of news cycled through, right? We're outraged, a discussion begins, and then another sensational news story comes in, and this gets put on the back burner. And another one gets put on the back burner. And the back burner. And that's unfortunately the America we live in today. I'm not delusional. I understand that this is the state of the country right now. And it's not by accident. There's lots of reasons for it. But the shooting yesterday, it was at Annunciation Catholic Church. There is a school at that church for pre-K to 8th grade. And they were joining all of them together for a mass prayer. It's the only one all year where every student is together praying at the same time. And Robin Westman, 23, of Minnesota, knew that. She knew that. The shooting itself, which happened from outside the church in. Robin shot from outside through the windows into the church. According to reports, at least two of the church exits were blocked, barred. Not clear whether Robin did it or if that was some kind of... It's looking like Robin did it before she began shooting. It's what it's looking like. The shooting itself lasted 2 minutes. I was over yesterday during the show. I was waiting to play the Green News Report, and we played it at 54 after 6 minutes to 54. All right, 11:54. We play Green News Report. It's a 6-minute report. I walked over to the machine that plays it at 53, and that minute I stood there felt like an eternity. My back even began hurting a little bit because I was just sitting there waiting with the mouse in hand, waiting. When you're waiting, you don't really realize just how long a minute can be sometimes. This shooting was 2 minutes, using 3 weapons, a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. Dozens of rounds were fired into the church. Dozens. Okay? 2 children died right there in the pews. The shooter herself, self-inflicted gunshot wound, dead. She lived in a brick building complex in Richfield, a suburb just outside the church. Now, I know you'd heard some of the more spectacular details, some of the more, polarizing details of this story in the form of Robin Westman's transition. Robin Westman was born Robert Westman, and at 17 petitioned to have his name changed to Robin and got the mother's approval. Now, Robin knew the church well. Not only did Robin attend that church and that school, but Robin's mother worked in the church offices for 5 years before exiting in 2021. So all while Robin was a child, she was attending the church, going to the church, and the mother worked at the church and had extensive knowledge of their scheduling, the layout of the property, the layout of the church inside, the pews where they were praying. 14 children are expected to survive, but have been shot. 2 adults were shot. Was that Scott? Okay, so yeah, some of them are in critical condition, so we want to hold off on, who the casualties exactly. Some are in critical condition. Now, some people have already spoken about it. Mayor Jacob Frey of Minneapolis, he's a Democrat, and he has long pushed for stricter gun laws. He's pushed for that for a while, and he said something that was extremely appropriate in the face of this shooting. He said, thoughts and prayers, they don't cut it. He rejects thoughts and prayers. Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. Those kids were literally praying. That's right. They were. They were literally praying when this happened. Tim Waltz said Minnesota's heartbroken. He added, from the officers responding to the clergy and the teachers providing comfort to the hospital staff saving lives, we will get through this together. What did President Trump say? Prayers for everyone involved. The obligatory thoughts and prayers. The one man who's in a position, it seems right now, to do whatever the hell he wants, signing over 100 executive orders. You can't fit one in for the kids, Don? You specifically can do better than that. You can do better than thoughts and prayers, Don. You literally can do better than that. Now, this shooter, the exact motive isn't clear, okay? The exact I did this because isn't there. But when you're dealing with as much hate that is in the heart of this person, motive gets murky, it gets muddy. Honestly, it gets lost in so much hate. It could have been any of these things. During a manifesto video, which I watched, which we will not be watching, this person said a lot of disgusting things. The only thing that this person did regret was the heartbreak and, for the family, for her family. The heartbreak that she's going to cause her family, she apologized for in the video. But she said, I do not expect forgiveness, and went on to say, bleep those kids. While ranting, she was going through her magazines, her different weapons, ammunition, saying things, but what was written, scrawled in insane scrawlings all over the ammo and the weapons themselves was just so much hate. Kill Donald Trump, racial slurs, slurs against Latinos, blacks, anti-Semitic stuff, anti-God stuff, kill Donald Trump. This person, by the way, was a far-right, Trump-hating, white nationalist, anti-God, transgender. Do not strain your brain trying to wrap your mind around a motive in this particular case. Instead, use that energy to think about how you can affect gun laws in your state. Think about how safe your kids may or may not be. Attend meetings, write your congressman, have a discussion with the people in your lives. Do not waste your mental capacity, your mental battery on motive here. This was a deeply disturbed, hate-filled person. Now, the mayor also said, please do not use this as a chance to denigrate transgender. Do not use the transgender community as a scapegoat. I think that is an important point, because her transgendered nature is not what I personally am referring to when I talk about how disturbed this person is. I'm referring to the hate, the willingness to kill, take young lives. The transgender, for me, it's a non-factor in this story. I only mention it to give you an oversight, a broader view of who this person was as a whole. But the transgender aspect for me is a non-starter. It's a non-starter. One thing this person did say in the video, talked about his admiration. She talked about her admiration for one Brandon Herrera. Brandon Herrera, who has over 4 million YouTube subscribers, is a pro-gun advocate, okay, and a member of SHOT, Shooting, Hunting, Outdoor Trade Show. He goes to these SHOT shows, and he schmoozes. He makes videos. He meets the people. He meets his fans. And he met Robin. And Robin said, we had a great conversation. We saw eye to eye. We're like-minded. Everybody should vote for Brandon Herrera as president. For president. Brandon Herrera immediately responded to what was said in this video. He said, I'm physically sickened and angry about this clearly hate-motivated attack on innocent children and disgusted that my name came out of this demon's mouth. He said, I met thousands of people at the SHOT Show. I don't remember this person. Nobody remembers this person. Nobody remembers this person. Gutless coward, he wrote on social media. F you, burn in hell. One little note, though. One reason Robin had it in her mind that Brandon might run for president is because Herrera, who's out of San Antonio, has run for official office, okay? Ran for governor or congressman. He ran for congressman. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was about to say. He ran for congressman. He ran for a local Congress seat, House seat. And he ran because after Uvalde, Tony Gonzalez, a GOP rep at the time, voted for more gun control. That angered him so much that it motivated him to run for Congress. So keep that in mind. Maybe that's what Robin found so appealing about the gentleman. Maybe now we're starting to see a little bit of a connection there. But yeah, there was another shooting, though. There was another shooting at Cristo Rey Jesuit High School on Tuesday. This was crazy. This was insane. A man jumped out of a vehicle at a crowded intersection right behind the high school and shot at a crowd of about 20 people. Got out of the car, brandishing a 22 rifle, shot up a whole crowd of people standing at this intersection, killed one person, got in their car and left. They're still looking for this person. The police haven't even released details about the car or what the shooter may or may not have looked like. No details. Gone. 35-year-old Gregory Doyle Sweeten was killed, standing at a street corner. I mean, the fact that something like that could even be buried, I mean, we saw why it got buried, but the fact that it could be is tragic in and of itself.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Brett Breaks Things, where the stakes are high and the truth still matters.
Today, little kids at Annunciation Catholic School were forced into a club that no child should ever join. It's an effed up club, and it's growing because our so-called leaders refuse to act. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for children in America. I'm going to read that again. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for children in America, and every day they refuse to act, more children are sacrificed. We're worried about vaccines and mRNA. We got troops in the streets of Washington, D.C. For safety, and yet if you're a kid in America, your likelihood of dying is greatest at school.
And I like to spell it out even clearer for parents especially. If God forbid your child died tomorrow, the most likely reason would be because of bullets. That's the country we live in. That's the decisions that Republican politicians have made time and time again.
Today, little kids at Annunciation Catholic School.
It started up again. Allie refused to be shuffled along. He wanted to say again, no, the video restarted. Okay, yeah, well, there you go. I mean, a child is most likely to be killed. The most likely cause of a death of a child in this country is gun death. It's gun death. Now, I had a problem with this one as I did my research and I read about Robin and I read. When I got into the Minnesota gun laws, and we're going to get into them, I had a problem. I just had a problem with this one because I had a problem finding where in this story could the story have ended before the children died. Where in this story, where in the timeline of Robin could this tragedy have been avoided? And it's tough for me. It's tough for me. Because as I look into Minnesota's gun laws, they're not really that. I mean, it's not Texas, it's not Florida, it's not Mississippi. There are universal background checks required for all firearm sales, including private transactions via a transfer report, and the dealer must submit all transaction reports to law enforcement. Okay, you can get a permit to carry. But that permit must be issued by the sheriff's department itself after you've passed a background check, you've been trained in the firearm, and to carry, you have to be 21. To buy, you have to be 18. To carry in public, you got to be 21. Now, they used to have it in Minnesota. It was 21. And then the federal appeals court in Minnesota struck that down and said, no, 18. 18 was good. Let's get it younger. So you can carry, and it doesn't have to be concealed. You can carry outwardly or concealed with the permit that you have obtained from the sheriff's department. And there are red flag laws in Minnesota. There are. In 2024, they went into effect. Law enforcement, family members, teachers, officials of any capacity, any of these people can petition a court to have your firearms removed because you're a risk in any way. For whatever reason, if they deem you a risk, any of these people in your life deem you a risk in Minnesota, they can petition a court to have your guns taken away. It can be either a short-term deal, anywhere from 6 to 12 months, or permanent, depending on the severity of your risk, okay? Now, this is cute. In Minnesota, some counties have called themselves Second Amendment sanctuary counties, where they passed resolutions signaling to the rest of the state their resistance to certain firearms restrictions. They just won't be following all your laws. Do something about it. That's cute. Second Amendment sanctuary counties. You know, as I got into the Minnesota laws, I said to myself, okay, Robin purchased these guns legally. The illegal part was taking them from her house, obviously, and then the shooting, obviously. But, you know, Governor Kennedy, he floated stop and frisk as a possible deterrent to some of these shootings about 2 months ago. That was particularly distasteful. But here I am left with, well, what is the solution here? What could have prevented this? You know, could the mother have seen something and said something? It's tough. This one's tough for me. It's tough for me. Purchased the guns legally. Had intimate knowledge of where they were planning to attack. Completely indiscriminate on who got hurt and how many. I want to lean towards the mom. I'm guessing that's the person who knew her best. I'm guessing that if there were any outward signs of a risk, that it would have been the mother who would have seen it. She did have 2 siblings. I don't know the extent of their relationship, how close they were or were not. So, I mean, that's where I'm starting to lean.
I've done nothing. I've tried some research on this, and I can only find that the last known address was with the father, but there's no indication that that's where she still lived, and if she had any cohabitants, any family or roommates or anything else like that.
Yeah.
There's no confirmed reporting on that right now.
And that's why I'm not digging my heels in, because, thank you, Scott, because if it was confirmed Robin lived with her father, saw each other on a daily basis, I could just say it's on you, dude. How do you not know there is this cache of weapons with all these insane, intricate writing all over them that must have taken weeks, if not months, to write? If you saw it, the depth of insanity is so apparent in that manifesto video. I would easily just say, boom, it's on you, Dad. Or if she lived with her mother, it's on you, Mom. You need to see this. You need to know who your child is. But that's not confirmed. We don't know for sure. So we're hoping reporting will come out, tell us more about her living situation, and maybe they can find a motive through other means. A concrete motive, a direct motive. That would be nice. That would be nice. But maybe got us thinking, how many school shootings have there been so far this year? Now, there's 3 databases that we generally check for this. K through 12 school shooting database, the Everytown for Gun Safety database, and the Education Week database. They're going to give us 3 different numbers, and that is because they have 3 different criteria. If you look at the largest number, 146, that includes any gun fired, regardless of injury or death, or any weapon brandished with intent. It also includes accidents and, God forbid, suicides. Those are all included in that 146. The next one down is the Everytown for Gun Safety database, and that includes anywhere a gun was discharged and there was injury or death. That right there is the one for me that gives us a little clearer picture. That's 91 this year. School shootings where a gun was discharged and it resulted in an injury or a death. So that's the one for me. That's the sticking one for me. Okay? Regardless of what measure you use, we by far have the most gun shootings, school shootings in the world. It's not close. It does happen other places. It does. Just on June 10th in Graz, Austria, a former student opened fire in a school, killing 10 and injuring 11. That is horrific. But it does happen. It does happen. Okay? It does happen. Little deeper look into the numbers. Just since we're talking numbers, since we're doing this today, let's all get on the same page. Gun deaths overall in the United States. Nearly 47,000 people died of gun-related. Now, the last time these numbers were compiled and confirmed definitively was 2023. Obviously, they're compiling data from 24 and this year, but definitive numbers, we're going with 2023. 47,000 people died from gun-related injuries in 2023. That is according to the CDC. Now, it had fallen consecutive years, and it continues to fall. How about that? But it's still an egregious number, obviously. Obviously. Now, 58% of those gun deaths were suicides, 38% were murders, and the rest were law enforcement, accidental, and undetermined. Undetermined what the gun's role in the death was, undetermined. Okay. Suicides are up. Gun murders are down. That's where we're at right now. More people are killing themselves, but on the other hand, less people are killing other people. So that's something, I guess. As far as cities go, well, when you're looking at the numbers from 2023 and you're looking at murder rates, unfortunately, you've got to start with D.C. 28.5 people per 100,000 are murdered. Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, New Mexico follow. The least amount, Hawaii, Utah, Nebraska, Idaho, and Massachusetts. Lowest amount of murders, gun-related murders, lowest amount. In terms of globally, on the low end, and I mean, we're nowhere near these guys. Canada, Australia, France, Germany, and Spain. I mean, it's minuscule, the amount of gun-related murders in those countries, but we are not the worst, not by a long shot. Not by a long shot. El Salvador, 40 people in 100,000 will be murdered by a gun. Venezuela, Guatemala, Colombia, Honduras round out the top 5. Just so we're all on the same page, if you get in this discussion at the water cooler about this new shooting before it cycles its way out of the news, while it's still fresh in your mind, while the tragedy and the horror are fresh in your minds, keep those numbers in mind. Keep those numbers in mind. And remember what Ali Vesci just told you. A child is most likely to die by a gun death in the United States. And your president, the one guy who can directly do something about it with just a wave of his most beautiful signature, the one guy in a position to do something right now about it is once again offering you thoughts and prayers. The mayor of Minneapolis says you can shove your thoughts and prayers. We need legislation.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, where the truth hits harder than the headlines.
All right, so we're going to move forward. I had video to play. We're going to move forward, though. I think that was a natural place to keep it moving, and we're going to get on to some other stuff. We're going to get back into the symptoms that we were talking about of this virus yesterday, of this authoritarian virus, this dictatorship virus, the Trump virus that is spreading throughout America. Chuck Todd said something about it. He said there are so many 5-alarm fires erupting with or set by this administration, it can be hard to focus on which fire is the most concerning. He was referring to what's going on at the CDC. I mean, this is going on at the EPA. It's going on at FEMA.
Here at 6 o'clock, federal funds are on the way to help 3 southern Oregon counties recover from devastating floods earlier this year.
In addition to this pounding lake effect snow are these whipping winds that just make the conditions here brutal.
Hurricane Helene, right now a powerful Category 3 storm.
Maybe one of the last things we still agreed on as a country, the importance of the federal government's ability to help people impacted by natural disasters like those. Well, that may be the latest target in Donald Trump's promised public retribution campaign, because his administration just placed more than 30 employees at FEMA, that's the Federal Emergency Management Agency, on leave. Why did they do that, you ask? Well, the Washington Post reports this, quote, they signed an open letter of dissent about the agency's leadership, according to people familiar with the situation and documents reviewed by the Washington Post. About 180 current and former FEMA staffers sent a letter on Monday to members of Congress and other officials arguing that the current leader's inexperience and approach harm FEMA's mission and could result in a disaster on the level of Hurricane Katrina.
Here at 6 o'clock, federal funds.
Just replaying videos, apparently. So this is the trend. This is the trend. Experienced officials in critical roles in our government are getting fired and are resigning and are writing letters in dissent of this government, of hirings, people that are put in place above them, the inexperience, the tribal nature of the way they're going about their business, leading some of these critical functions. The Fed under attack, right? The Fed under attack, FEMA under attack, EPA, CDC. Yesterday, I gave you the story of the Social Security security administrator who was never consulted on the security of our social security info, while Doge snot-nosed punks uploaded all of our data into a cloud server that was unprotected. He came out as an official whistleblower. These people are coming out speaking against. This is what it looks like. This is our system fighting the infection. These are the antibodies fighting the infection, the white blood cells going to work. This is what it looks like. 30 FEMA employees getting fired because 180 of them spoke out against this administration's running of FEMA, the cuts, the inexperience, the roadblocks to doing their job effectively and efficiently with funding. This is what it looks like. This is where the fight is. This is the front lines of this dictatorship or wannabe dictatorship. This is the front lines. This is where the battle is being fought at FEMA.
About 36 people had signed their names. The majority of signatories were anonymous. Same thing happened at the Environmental Protection Agency last month. 139 people were put on leave there following their own letter of dissent. In both cases, the crime or the sin, in the eyes of the Trump administration, was simply telling the truth in defiance of the Trump party line. That was also the recent experience of Lieutenant General Jeffrey Krause, former director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. He was fired, seemingly because he dared to provide an accurate assessment of the Iran strike that didn't sync up with Donald Trump's own appraisal of the impact of that strike. Trump, of course, claimed that the operation resulted in, quote, total obliteration of Iran's nuclear facilities. And when the now former commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics was so bold as to report as accurately as possible the data before her, the monthly jobs numbers, Donald Trump fired her too, because he didn't like the numbers, didn't think they were good enough. About 36 people.
So General Krause fired, not along party lines. McIntyre at the labor, at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, fired for giving us the truth. Lisa Cook, you're standing in the way of what I want to do at the Fed. You're standing for the American people. You have the American people's best interest in mind, not mine. You're fired. And by the way, Lisa Cook, I told you she's suing. I told you that she was suing, and now that has begun. She has sued in the U.S. District Court in Washington. All right? She has sued. And just a quick aside on here, her suit is going to be influential. It's going to deal with some things that haven't really been dealt with like this. Now, I told you FDR, he fired a Fed governor, but then the Supreme Court immediately said it was unjustified and reinstated him. So this was tried once before with a Fed board governor, but not like this. Not in the face of that corrupt bullcrap FHFA, report out of Bolt. I can't remember his name. Bolt, the agency head. He's sent that letter to the DOJ. Hey, you got to charge her for this mortgage fraud that he committed, by the way. Bolt, thank you. Polt, thank you with a P. Thank you, Scotty. He's there for me. Polt. He has weaponized the FHFA. He is now, that's their new weapon, right? The FHFA is their new weapon. Who else can we get for mortgage fraud? What other influential person in a position that we want to fill with a sycophant can we sick the FHFA on? So Lisa Cook's the newest victim. Now, there's questions about, one, whether you can fire her, whether this is cause. Now, remember, charges haven't even been filed against her, okay? Trump has said she needs to resign. Polt has said there may be indictable charges here. No charges have been fired yet. So this judge is going to have to decide, A, whether that's enough cause to fire her. And aside from that, if cause even covers things that she has done outside the purview of her governorship, of her board of governorship. So if she's not doing something related to her job, can you even fire her for that? 2, can Trump make that call unilaterally? Can Trump even do that unilaterally? She's going to have to decide that. And 3, this happened in 2021. Can they fire her for cause for something that happened 4 years ago? There's going to be a lot to decide here. And how this goes for the administration is going to lay the groundwork for what the attacks in this form look like going forward. So now, Department of Labor, the Fed, FEMA, EPA, CDC, Social Security, everything's under attack. Everything's under attack. And there's somebody who is in a unique position to tell us about it. We're going to hear from him now. We're going to hear from him right now. Miles Taylor. Now, early in my tenure with Randy, and Scott was with me at the time, we did a story about the writer, or who was the writer of I Am the Resistance. I Am the Resistance was a letter that came out of the Trump administration from an anonymous writer detailing the insanity going on in the Trump White House. It was a letter to the New York Times. It was released by the New York Times. And they were furious about this. Later on, it was revealed that former Department of Homeland Security Chief of Staff Miles Taylor was the writer. It was him. All right, so he was the Chief of Staff of the DHS under Trump. Now he says, Bolton just got raided. I'm next. He says, I'm next. No doubt. No doubt. He said he was in bed with his wife when he saw the Bolton raid live on TV, and his wife turned to him and said, get ready. It's coming. He says, I'm undoubtedly on the hit list. I'm on his blacklist, as he puts it. I'm on Trump's blacklist, and he most likely is. He talks about it a little bit here.
This is happening now. This part of the story that I think you knew was coming and I knew was coming and a lot of us knew was coming is that he was going to take federal law enforcement officers and send them into the homes of his enemies. And it's something that we are preparing for personally. And, we feel the same way as you do in terms of how you led off this segment, Nicole, is it's not so much about us if we're on that list to be hit next. This is about how it affects everyday Americans. I mean, they don't need to worry about John Bolton and Miles Taylor and Jim Comey and these other folks. I mean, we appreciate the sympathy and support. We do. But those same tactics that are being used against people on the president's enemies list are those tactics that you just noted are reshaping all of the services and institutions that Americans depend on.
Project 2025 marches forward. The infection of Project 2025, the symptoms are everywhere. They're everywhere. And yet another former Trump ally, staffer, consultant has come out and said this is his plan. This is what he's doing. I know him better than you all do. I'm telling you. This is the retribution aspect. This is the retribution symptom. Adam Schiff, mortgage fraud. Letitia James, mortgage fraud. Lisa Cook, mortgage fraud. John Bolton, raided. Like he says, he said, I'm not a dictator, but many people are saying they want me as their dictator. This is the stuff of dictators, period.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Breaking news, breaking rules, breaking through. Back to Brett Breaks Things.
It is day 220 of the second Trump administration, and we are following some serious breaking news that the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Susan Monarez, has been fired. Earlier this evening, the Department of Health and Human Services announced that Dr. Monarez is, quote, no longer director of the CDC. She was confirmed by the Senate less than a month ago. The Washington Post reports she was pressed for days by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., administration lawyers, and other officials over whether she would support rescinding certain approvals for coronavirus vaccines. Kennedy and other officials questioned Monarez on Monday on whether she was aligned with the administration's efforts to change vaccine policy. Well, this afternoon, Dr. Monarez's attorney said she would not resign, that she was being targeted for political reasons, and that she had not been notified by the White House that she was fired. But tonight, the White House confirmed she was officially terminated. The CDC is now also without some key senior leaders. Following the HHS announcement that Monarez was out, 4 other top officials resigned. One said they could no longer serve in the role because of the ongoing weaponizing of public health. I'm going to say that again. Ongoing weaponizing of public health.
It's so sad and ironic. There goes all the best people. He's not bringing in all the best people. He's driving out all the best people. If you are actually the best people, you do not have a place in this administration. 4 more have resigned after they fired Susan Monarez. Now, she was just named director. In July, she had gotten confirmed. And since day one, she had been butting heads with Mr. RFK Jr. Bearman. Mr. Save the Whales, Mr. President. Yeah, save the whales. He's cutting off whales' heads and taking them home. That's how he's going to save the... This nut job gets thrusted into a position of power over those professionals, over Mrs. Monarez, who was absolutely qualified. Now, she had butted heads with RFK since she got there. They have been ousting senior officials. RFK has been, since day one, trying to limit access to vaccines, policy changes. She just kept butting up against this guy. And now she's been fired. And she says, I'm not going anywhere until the president himself fires me. This is legally deficient, is what she said. Legally deficient. You can't fire me. Only the president can fire me. And until the president fires me, I'm not stepping down. I love it. Just what Lisa Cook said. You can't fire me, Don, and I'm not going anywhere. Now, since she got there, he has been trying to get her support to rescind COVID vaccine approvals for most of us. I'll get to that. I'll get to it right now, as a matter of fact. He wants to rescind approval for anybody under 65 that is not in high risk and a high-risk health condition. If you are not at high risk and you're under 65, he doesn't want you to have a vaccine at all. Not your choice anymore. You don't get to choose who you trust. You don't get to choose which company you want to go with, or if you want to go with your doctor's recommendation of a vaccine. That's going to be taken out of your hands. RFK is going to handle that. Bearman's going to handle that for you now. He's going to let you know. She's really upset about all the firings. That really upset her. All the senior staff firings. And she pushed back. She was vocal. She would not bend to anything RFK tried to shove down her throat, and so he fired her. Now, in steps Bill Cassidy. Not only did she refuse to step down, she called her buddy Bill Cassidy. Why'd she call Bill Cassidy? Bill Cassidy sits on the Senate Health Committee, and he begrudgingly approved RFK's nomination, but under a condition. Under a condition that vaccines would be protected. He made RFK promise vaccines would be protected. And he did. And here he is, trying to limit your access. Not just your access to COVID-19 vaccines, your children's access to vaccines as well. All of them. He wants to limit vaccine access across the board. That pisses Bill Cassidy off. Menares knew that would piss Bill Cassidy off, so she called him.
The Post reports that Menares even went so far as to enlist the help of Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy to try and stay in her job. But that reportedly only angered RFK Jr. Tonight, lawyers representing Director Menares are pushing back on these reports, saying that she has neither resigned nor yet has been fired, and that she will not go quietly. They write in a statement, quote, when CDC Director Susan Menares refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts, she chose protecting the public over serving a political agenda. For that, she has been targeted. Dr. Menares has neither resigned nor received notification from the White House that she has been fired, and as a person of integrity and devoted to science, she will not resign. Now, just moments ago, the White House released a statement saying that Dr. Menares has now officially been terminated by the White House. Tonight, at least 4 other top CDC officials have resigned in what appears to be a coordinated response to all of this.
So, 4 resigned in the face of Menares being fired. Who were they? Who resigned? Let's take a look at them. Dr. Deborah Horry, Chief Medical Officer, built the CDC's opioid response program. Dr. Dimitri Deskalakis, Director of Immunization and Respiratory Illness. He's nationally recognized as an infectious disease expert. Dr. Daniel Jernigan, infectious disease response, 30-plus years as a CDC veteran. He led anthrax, swine flu, and COVID responses. And Dr. Jennifer Layden, Public Health Data Director, established the CDC's COVID Strategic Science Unit. All the best people are being driven out. I did think this was interesting. Scott brought this to my attention. I love this. Dimitri Deskalakis, a couple of points in his resignation letter I wanted to bring to you. He said this decision does not come easily. And I'm paraphrasing here. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. But he said, however, after much contemplation and reflection on recent developments and perspectives brought to light by Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I find that the views he and his staff have shared challenge my ability to continue in my current role at the agency and in the service of the health of the American people. Enough is enough, he continues later in the letter. I am unable to serve in an environment that treats the CDC as a tool to generate policies and materials that do not reflect scientific reality and are designed to hurt rather than to improve the public's health. You said a mouthful there, Dimitri. You said a mouthful. And let's just kind of get a grasp on what RFK has been doing since he's been appointed here. He's fired the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Committee members. He cut mRNA vaccine research funding, revived a task force scrutinizing childhood vaccine schedules, supported fringe researchers claiming links between vaccines and autism. He's directed budget cuts, layoffs. Don't forget there was that attack on the CDC headquarters in Atlanta by a vaccine opponent. You can say those are unrelated. I will say they are not. And according to all reports, morale at the CDC has, quote, plummeted. Plummeted. You want to hear from Mr. Save the Whales? You want to hear from Bear Man along with his dear leader? No? Too bad. Here we go.
Autism, if I could, I don't want to go too long because we have a lot of people, but the autism is such a tremendous horror show, what's happening in our country and some other countries, but mostly our country. How are you doing on that?
We are doing very well. We will have announcements as promised in September. We're finding certain interventions now that are clearly, almost certainly causing autism. And we're going to be able to address those in September.
It's such a big day. I'm looking forward to that day because there's something wrong when you see the kind of numbers that you have today versus 20 years ago.
Keep in mind, as he sits there and talks about the certainties of causes of autism, the dude has no medical degrees. None. What were his qualifications to be put at such an important position? He threatened to run against Don in the last election. And then Don promised him a cush spot at HHS so he could push his insane anti-vax conspiracy agenda at the highest levels of our government. That was his qualification, threatening to run against Don. No medical degree. Keep that in mind. None.
And I know what a healthy child is supposed to look like. I'm looking at kids as I walk through the airports today, as I walk down the street, and I see these kids that are just overburdened with mitochondrial challenges, with inflammation. You can tell from their faces, from their body movements, and from their lack of social connection. And I know that that's not how our children are supposed to look.
Okay, Mr. No Degree. Mitochondrial challenges. I look at their bodies. Okay, Mr. Not a Doctor. You're talking about mitochondrial challenges that you can observe by the naked eye. Now, just to be clear, for anybody who hasn't heard of mitochondrial challenges, and before Mr. RFJ Jr. was, inserted into my life, I hadn't heard of them either. Mitochondrial challenges broadly refer to dysfunction or failure of the mitochondria. They generate the cell's energy and are essential in many cellular functions, including cell growth, programmed cell death, and metabolism. Okay, that's what mitochondrial challenges are. Now he says, well, I can see it with I can see who's got mitochondrial challenges. I can see it. The medical community at large scoffs at this, to say the least. Mitochondrial dysfunction absolutely cannot be diagnosed by looks or behavior. Diagnostic methods typically involve genetic testing, muscle biopsies, metabolic function tests, or imaging. Not casual observation. That's not how diagnosing it goes, okay? And no reputable medical body could be found anywhere to co-sign his very convincing, I can tell by looking at them diagnostic method. Yeah, Mr. No Degrees is out here firing the most experienced, influential minds at CDC and making them quit. Firing some, making some quit. All while making vaccine availability across the board less, right? Harder to get vaccines, harder to get approvals for it, harder for companies to make it and get it approved in the States. He's also an expert on autism, apparently. He's an expert on bear deaths and how to transport said bear corpse on the top of his car with his family inside. And then how to dispose of said corpse in Central Park. You're going to save the whales, Mr. President. You're going to save the whales.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks Things will be back tomorrow to break it all down.